From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
Just Tory
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, free agency going kind of slow. When will it start picking up? Discussing the options at quarterback and looking back at a crazy 1997 season with some angst at the current state of affairs. Wake Up War Chant presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com, the website. You can also see the QR code on your screen. Takes you right to aforementioned website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Physical address. Lunch specials Mondays through Fridays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on Mondays, it's a hamburger. But not just any hamburger, everybody. It's a half-pound Black Angus beef burger. That's right, the good stuff. Also comes with a side dish of your choosing. Straight fries, curly fries, tater tots, onion rings, potato salad, coleslaw, broccoli, side salad, or freshly cooked potato chips. Usually $12.99, but on Mondays, $8.99 at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Hit the thumbs up. Leave a 5-star rating and review. That's what we get up for every single day doing this show. It's like, can we get another 5-star rating and review? I'll wake up. I'll roll the dice just for that to happen. Corey Clark here, everybody, per usual. How are you, Corey? I can't wait to see you again. We're gonna be practicing, I feel like, this week, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I think we get to go watch one on Friday. I think there's at least availability on Friday, but I think we actually get to go watch one. So yeah, that'll be exciting. Get to see who's out there, who's not out there, and also something we haven't talked about. I'm doing great, Aslan. Thanks for asking. I guess I didn't realize, because remember when Kirby talked at the Orange Bowl Zoom where everybody was still basically stunned,
right.
And so I was half listening to what he said. But I guess the mid-year early enrollees get to practice.
Somebody was saying that about the Cromenhawk kid might be able to practice during this bowl
so I
prep.
think once they sign on December 20th, once their faxes are in, because that's how we still do it, I guess, or PDF, whatever they do, I think they're allowed to start practicing.
Nice.
So that's cool. That'll make those practices that would legitimately make those practices worth watching, because as we've talked about, we have no idea who's going to be there, which of the veteran guys are staying or going, who's opting out, who's opting in, who's in the portal, who isn't. We don't know any of that right now as you guys listen to this, or we don't know much of that. But it will. So if you're losing, let's say you lose, I don't know how many they lost to the portal already, 10, 11.
Sounds about right.
Probably lose a few more. But if you can replace those guys with the new dudes that get – I mean, that's pretty cool to get 8 or 10 practices before they're even – you know what I mean? Before
right,
even the new year. That's a cool little, I guess, tweak they've made to the schedule, to the recruiting calendar. I could be speaking out my tush, but I think Cromenhawk said he plans to practice. Yeah. And then Kirby said that during the Orange Bowl press conference when he was getting the questions about what practices will be like and how busy it is and who's leaving, and he's like, well, one of the benefits is, and he said that, the mid-year guys get to practice. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't want to use the word I want to use the word underwhelming, but I don't want to put any sort of tone or bias in that word. But, we had 2 threads pinned, tacked to the tribal council, ready to go. One thread for guys entering the transfer portal, and then hopefully joining Florida State via the transfer portal, and then another thread with all the guys that we're going to assume we're going to make announcements about opting out. And it's been pretty quiet. So, is anything going to happen here in the next, 5 to 7 to 10 days to where that is going to start percolating one way or the other, whether it's guys declaring, whether it's guys entering the program via the portal or leaving via the portal? Or does it kind of feel like we've maybe hit stasis, this is kind of stabilized and this is what it's going to be?
Because, wouldn't you think, though, I'm talking about guys leaving for the portal, wouldn't you think that's almost done?
Yeah, what would you be waiting for?
Now. Yeah. And you say, what are you waiting for? But exactly right, because, spots fill up. And if teams don't know you're in the portal, then, they're not gonna have a spot for you if you really want to go there. And if you have any sort of leverage or NIL opportunities, I feel like you want to kind of get your name out there as soon as possible. So, yeah, I would think I mean, there'll probably be a couple guys that lag after that. That maybe they realize or figure out. Okay, we're not gonna. I'm not gonna be able to play here. Or maybe a kid commits to Florida State out of the portal that sends another Florida State player into the portal. You know what I mean? Like that could definitely happen. But yeah, right now it's been very slow. But I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I think it'd be nice if Florida State got some good news as far as, hey, this kid's coming. But we certainly don't expect them to not get portal kids. It's just a matter of when. So yeah, but it was a very quiet weekend overall. It seemed like.
Yeah, I wonder when that's going to start happening, and also
Monday today.
Yeah, I mean,
as soon as you guys listen to this, it's going to be the floodgates are open.
Yeah, I'm not saying I hope so because I don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt, but as somebody whose job is to provide content to all these passionate fans listening, it's I wish we could have something to talk about because that's what we were sold. This whole transfer portal thing, free agency in football, for better or worse. At least we were going to have something to talk about. And, so far, really, the only thing that's happened is Marqueson's entered and surfaced in Tempe and going to Arizona State. Meanwhile, everybody else who's either announced they're going to enter the portal, maybe has not. Patrick Payton still has not officially entered the portal. And then everybody else who has either been a walk-on or somebody who really wasn't in Florida State's immediate plans when it comes to rolling somebody out there. And the quarterback situation, right, is still in flux. Will it be DJ Uiagalelei? Will it be Cam Ward? What are your thoughts on that one right now, Corey? Again, we talked about a little bit on Friday. You don't want to take a step back. So if you feel that bringing in a quarterback with some experience helps prevent that, you're going to go ahead and do it. But, man, how much of this also is going to be your payroll, for lack of a better term, in terms of being able to also reload other positions? Are you going to have to look at it through kind of that lens? I mean, certain programs might be able to go all in on one position, but it feels like Florida State probably won't be able to, attack roster retention and roster building in that fashion.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? But won't be able to attack it?
Well, I figure Cam Ward probably costs more than DJ Uiagalelei. I figure.
Oh, right. So
you probably can't go for the 7-figure quarterback. You probably got to go for the 6-figure quarterback and then get some other receivers because Johnny's the only one that said that he's gone and he's opting out. We still haven't got anything officially from Keon Coleman, but I mean he's a projected first-round pick, so we do kind of know there. And same thing with Jaheim as well. But again, there's not a whole lot of other talent that's really entered the portal that's been can't miss at wide receiver, can't miss at edge to replace a Jared Verse, who again he hasn't officially announced anything yet either. So I wonder how much flexibility or how prudent do you have to be right now if you're going to go after a quarterback, knowing that you likely have a lot of other positions to fill as well.
Well, look, we all know that's the most important position. Hey, the committee told us that, didn't they, gang? The quarterback is the most important position. And I think if you can go get one of those two guys, and it's not going to be your whole bankroll, which, again, guys, I get how weird it is to even talk like this, but it's the reality, so I got to quit even qualifying it. If it's not your whole, war chest to go after one of those quarterbacks. Because, look, man, I hope nobody here thinks that I think DJ is like a special quarterback. He's pretty good. He was bad. He wasn't good at Clemson, but then look at that Clemson offense after he left. So it clearly wasn't his fault. And he had a nice year at Oregon State against real teams. That's good competition out there. And he counted himself pretty well. He played pretty well out there. And he would be, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, he's an upgrade over what you currently have on the roster in 2024. I'm not saying Brock Glenn or Kromenhoek can't be better than him by the end of 24 or by the beginning of 25. They might have better careers. They might be better actual quarterbacks. But I think if you could get a DJ or a Cameron Ward, for sure, that's better for you going into 2024 than what you currently have, because you have no known commodities at quarterback.
Right.
Tate Rodemaker is not a known commodity. If he'd have gotten to play against Louisville, that would have helped immensely, I think, one way or the other, knowing if he could do it or not do it. Again, he wasn't great against Florida. He looked a little rattled to start that game. He made some plays though, but he looked a little rattled to start the game, and he didn't look, in my opinion, such a small sample size. I get it. He didn't look good enough to say, "Yep, absolute, verified, that's our guy." And I think, unfortunately for him, I think if he'd have gotten to play against Louisville, he could have shown, if he goes 24 of 33 in a championship game for 280 and a couple scores, yeah, this is a guy that can win us games. This guy, but you just don't know. And if those two guys are out there, because you do have so many, you are losing. I don't know if there's another team in the country that's going to lose as much production offensively as Florida State is, if the guys that we think are leaving are leaving. Johnny, Keon, and Jaheim, that's your three top receivers, right? No idea what Trey's doing. But if Benson leaves, well, there goes 14 touchdowns and, 700, 800 yards. You're just losing probably, I would guess, 90% of your yards from scrimmage or 90% of your touchdowns. Just a ton of law. And so that's not great for an inexperienced quarterback to have inexperienced skill guys behind them. If you could get an experienced quarterback, it helps those other guys grow. You feel a little better about the offense overall. So, yeah, man, I think it's almost imperative that they get a quarterback. It's almost imperative. Not quite, because, again, Tate is an unknown, weirdly. He is. He might be great. I haven't given up on Tate. But, if they go after a quarterback, then I feel like they have a much better understanding of what he could be in 2024 than we do, right? If they go after a quarterback, doesn't that tell us what they think of Rodemaker in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, they are going after a quarterback,
Well, that's right. But if they sign one, if they get one of those guys, then you have to applaud the decision because they know better than us, and they know that would mean they know or they think that DJ and Cam Ward are a significant enough upgrade over Rodemaker or Glenn that you have to make that move.
Like what sounds better? Cam Ward, Hakeem Williams, Destin Hill, or DJ Uiagalelei, player to be named later, Hakeem Williams and Destin Hill. I feel like that's almost like the calculus they're going to have to take. Because if it feels, not to say that, whatever they gave to Jordan Travis to stick around.
Oh, you're thinking like the money they would save between Ward and DJ goes to another receiver?
Yeah, let's lean into this thing, man. Let's really lean into this stuff.
I mean, that's the craziness, man. It is such a bizarre world we live in where these teams have these kind of salary caps, but we don't know what the number is. We don't know what anybody's getting. It's still all in like a dark, clouded shrouded in mystery of what a going rate is. I mean, I think we all understand that the going rate of a transfer quarterback of Cam Ward's stature is probably seven figures or close to it, ish, which is crazy, but it is.
It is.
You're paying for. Look, man, it sounds crazy. I get it, gang. I know it sounds crazy. You're paying your head coach and your defensive coordinator right around what, Aslan, $8 million a year between them.
Yeah, I mean,
$7
close
million?
to 9 now, I think, with all the rework contracts.
So let's slow down on being too freaked out about the biggest position in sports getting $1 million.
And also think about this team without Jordan Travis this year, right? Like I don't know.
They wouldn't have won a game. They wouldn't have won a game.
Like I don't know how much money they made, but we saw all the visibility, all the stories that Gene would do about ratings and Florida State's, standing and that sort of stuff. So without Jordan Travis, that stuff goes by the wayside. So, yeah, I guess Cam Ward maybe gives you a little bit more juice than DJ, so you have to factor that in.
And also a completely different direction on that topic. And I can't remember if I brought this up after the injury or not, but this is the Jordan Travis part of it is why I that's the great part of NIL. Because there is a chance, I hope it doesn't happen, but there is a chance that was his last snap in a competitive football game. I think he's going to rehab. I think he's going to prove to enough people. I think he gets on a roster. I don't know if he gets drafted with so much question about his medical and what that's going to look like. I have really no idea what the recovery time is for that injury. We don't even really know exactly what was repaired and what the timetable is. Yeah. But if he never plays another down, think of what he did for Florida State football. Think of what he did for this program. And he made a lot of money off it, too. Not life-changing money. Not money where he can rest for the next 50 years of his life. But he made a nice, fair chunk of change for that. And that's the beauty of NIL, right?
Yeah.
That's he deserved it. He deserved every penny he got. He probably deserved more. I have no idea what he ended up getting, but it was a lot. Clearly 6 figures, 7 figures, somewhere around there all told. He deserved it, man. Like that's where it's good. It's guys like that have done it on the field, won you games, made you relevant, lifted the brand, and then he gets hurt, and he might not get to play at the level he was used to playing. Well, he still made money while playing football. So anyway, that was my spiel on that. But yeah, I think Cam Ward, somebody like that, DJ too. Again, there's the guys like that who have played so much football, and they give you that experience that you just don't have otherwise at the most important position in sports. And this is the thing. You're going to be in you were what, 4, 5, 6 close games this year. I would expect that number to go up next year. You know, you're going to have a guy that you don't think will lose you football games. Again, I'm not saying Tate Rodemaker would lose you football games. You just don't know. You haven't seen it. You know Cam Ward and DJ, at the very least, are going to keep you in games. I think Cam Ward is better. I think Cam Ward is more dynamic. But, you know, DJ's got some real skill too, man. DJ will play in the league probably. So, yeah, I think it's worth it. Almost not at all costs. Don't spend your whole payroll on it. But go get you a quarterback that, for 1 year, that you believe can get you to 9 or 10 wins and conference championship game.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it, you know, the way to look at this is kind of remember where Jordan Travis was when this staff showed up and where he is now as he's leaving. And I know it was plenty more years, and, you know, Kenny Dillingham probably deserves a large part of the credit for getting Jordan to where
him?
he was.
He coached 2 of the kids in the final top 5 of the Heisman voting.
Look at that, man.
Good job, Kenny.
So, but maybe you think that DJ shows up in Tallahassee a little bit further along than Jordan did in 2020, even 2021, that, you know, Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell are able to, I think what Kenny said was, I'm going to be less of like a tactician, more of a psychologist when it came to getting his hands on Bo Nix, and look how good that worked out for Bo Nix in Oregon, and Kenny head coach now at a Power 5 program, like one of the youngest dudes. Should you get, I don't know, is it getting too ahead of your skis, or is it accurate to kind of think about just how high the ceiling could be if you bring in and engage DJ Uiagalelei with what Mike Norvell's been able to do with his offenses the last few years, and Alex Atkins as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think your goals, this is me talking in December of 2023. I think your goals for 24, I think because so much of your talent, your homegrown talent, is going to be young, very young, you're not going to be bringing in 15 starters from the portal.
Why not?
I just don't think that's what they plan on doing. So I think your goal is, and clearly,
but you spend all that money on all those guys. Unless I know that money's gone, that money doesn't just get back into your bank account for you to use it. But it feels like if you invested this money to do it this time around, it wasn't just like a one-off. Or do you think it was a one-off?
Well, I would say this. I think it's easy to spend that money on guys from South Carolina or Albany when you don't have to make sure your super-duper 5-star best player in the country, high school recruits, are coming in. Like, that's not something they had to worry about 2 years ago. Well, they got guys now. That kid, for the number 1 receiver in the country, if he decides to come to Florida State, he ain't coming for free. The safety from Buford, Georgia, Bolden, he ain't coming for free. And they're really good players that I think can play right away. So I think that's the difference, is you like your high school talent. I think it's more impactful earlier. So you just have to, you have to figure out a way. It's like you got to have a capologist, man. But several of them, apparently. But yeah, what I was going to say is I think the goal for next year is to get to the conference championship game. Yeah. Give yourself a chance. If you're 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, 8-4, whatever it takes, however the losses stack up, get yourself back to Charlotte. That is a good season, and it essentially means you're in the playoff. If you win that game, whether your record is 11-1, 12-0, or 7-5, if you win that game, you're in the playoff. So that's what I think their goal should be, and then wait until 2025. Not that you're ever waiting to go win a championship. I'm just saying I think you kind of have your eyes towards 25. What's Kromenhoek going to look like? What's Brock Glenn going to look like? Hakeem Williams is a junior. Vandrevius Jacobs is a junior. Maybe the Jeremiah Smith kid, if he's in Tallahassee, is a sophomore. Bolden is like all this big-time talent. You hope the offensive line and the defensive line, you got to replenish there. All that talent would be on display in 2025. I think next year, again, avoiding the step back, to me, means getting to Charlotte. And I just think right now, again, I don't even know if we asked. I think right now they have the means and they will have a roster good enough to get them to Charlotte, assuming they get, I don't know, man, 7 to 9 experienced, in my opinion, 7 to 9, 10 experienced, good, quality starter-type players in the portal, while those young guys can learn reps from experienced guys. What a weird sport we cover now. What a weird, crazy sport we cover.
And you feel, without even knowing who else they could add offensively to fill the shoes of Johnny and Keon, that like DJ Uiagalelei is probably good enough to get you back to Charlotte.
Well, no, you got to get people around him. No, I'm not saying that on his own. I think you definitely need to go get you need to upgrade on the offensive line somehow. I don't know if that's guys on the team now. The offensive line just has to be better. It has to be better. Like, you should have a lot of those dudes coming back, right? Maurice Smith is back. Darius should be back. Who else? Robert Byers can be back. Like, you have that thing is the one that has to be better, because I think. And look, I'm not of the opinion that if they would have looked better against Louisville with the third-string quarterback, it would have mattered. I think they're out regardless. But we can't lose sight of the fact that offense was horrendous. They couldn't run on anyone. They could, you know what I mean? Like, that offense in Charlotte was horrendous. It would have been better with the actual passing threat at quarterback, which you did not have. But it also would have been nice if you had a really good offensive line that could just pave the way, and it didn't matter how good the quarterback was. Your running backs were good enough and your offensive line was good enough that you could still go down the field and score, and not just, score one touchdown off a wildcat play. So anyway, I think that needs to be upgraded. Whether I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't mean like they have no chance to do it. I said I don't know if they're going to go in the portal or if they like the guys they have, along with some of the dudes that have been here a while, man. Armella, Estes, guys like that are still here. Like, maybe they take a step up and can actually contribute or win a job. And that, that helps that helps everybody if you're getting that kind of competition on the offensive line and those guys step up. But yeah, no, I think, because that's the thing that I think we're losing, that some people lose sight of. I think Hakeem Williams has a chance to be awesome. Mm-hmm. Same with Vandrevius, same with Destin Hill. They've all done about diddly poo in a game that really matters. None of them have done anything in a game that actually matters. They have not made plays. They have not arrived. And so they're question marks. Now, they're question marks that can turn into exclamation points really quickly. By Ireland, they might be like, oh, my God, this might be one of the best receiving corps in the country. Like, I don't know. They're going to improve. They're freshmen. They're going to get better, and they're already talented dudes. But certainly I hope people don't think I'm giving up on them, or they can't do it, or you have to go recruit over them in the portal. You have to go portal over them. I'm just saying we don't know. Like, we don't know. We have no idea. And so it's a weird time to be a coach, especially somebody like Norvell, who I can guarantee you has opportunities to go get himself a receiver in the portal that has put up huge numbers in college. Huge numbers. But does he do that for 1 year at the expense of alienating kids that are already here? That's the game you have to play. Keon Coleman was absolutely worth alienating everybody on the football team. Oh, you're upset? Well, here, click. Watch this kid. Or go watch him in practice, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was absolutely worth alienating everyone. Jared Verse, people like that are worth the alienation of kids on the team already. But other than that, that's the game that's what you have to figure out. Is who do you want to bring in that might spur someone to leave? And that's the game you play.
VitaminEnergy.com ain't playing any games. They're giving you a promo code WarChampBOGO that allows you to buy one item and get one of equal or lesser value for absolutely free, just by typing in WarChant BOGO. It's that easy. They're Knowles, they're alums, they love this program, and they're trying to hook you folks up. Get your days pepped up with some of their Vitamin Energy. How about the Vitamin Energy Extra Strength? Not only 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine, but some green tea extract and some citicoline as well added in there, which is a natural chemical in your body that plays a role in brain health. So extra strength energy and helping out the old noggin, being a little bit more focused, being a little bit more sharp. That's how it works. Usually $29.95, but when you buy one and get one free, you cut it in half, everybody. You get 24 bottles. It's incredible. Shake it and take it. Give it a shot. Vitamin Energy is the world's first and only clinically proven energy shot to help boost your mood, help eliminate brain fog, And there's no sugar, so there's no sugar crash. Give it a shot. VitaminEnergy.com. Again, that promo code WarChampBOGO. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com. Corey, so we're going to be in Dublin in like 9 months?
Yeah, like August 21st or so is when we probably get over there. August 24th is the game.
You're getting on a jet airplane, if I'm not mistaken.
I am. Well, or a boat. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Kirk Herbstreit's going to be there.
Yeah.
So is the whole
That's right.
game day crew.
Yep.
Interesting, huh? Also, that on top of Saturday's programming choice for the Heisman, like the post-Heisman 30 for 30, which is like a quasi-annual tradition now, I guess.
Yeah.
To talk about the 97 Heisman race, which is funny because like the SEC got screwed, quote unquote, because they weren't that great back then. It's like, I almost feel like that was a passive-aggressive reminder to Florida State fans that like, hey, like, you know, other people have been hosed too. It's not just you folks. But that's probably a huge stretch. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on game day, Dublin, and the reception that Kirk, Pat, and the gang are going to get? I mean, Lee Corso can only curry you so much good favor, right?
Correct. And I wonder if Lee will make the trip. I hope he will. But who knows? That will keep people probably from throwing eggs. You don't want to get egg. You don't want to get yolk on Corso, everyone. So don't harm these people physically. Don't be complete. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to say to people. Just don't harm them physically. And I really wonder. They didn't go over there for the Navy Notre Dame game, right? They weren't over there for that, were they?
I don't think so. No.
I don't think they've ever been over there. So I wonder what the setup will be, and if it will be in an empty stadium, or if it will be like downtown, right outside this, or in Dublin, downtown Dublin, or right outside the stadium, and what the policy will be on signs. Because we have 9 months to spitball signs. We have 9 months. So yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting. Again, I just come back to I can't imagine they thought they were going to get the blowback that they got. They've had to go on. Reese Davis and Herbstreit and McElroy have all done multiple. Not mea culpas, because they're never going to apologize, but multiple trying to explain, multiple explanations, whether through podcasts or videos or their own iPhone filming, to explain what happened and why and blah, 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 blah. And they're doing that because the reaction from the rest of the world, not from us, not from Florida State people, not from even the college football world, but the rest of the sporting world was like, what? And that's just something they weren't prepared for. So Dan Wolken, who is, I don't care if you love him or hate him or whatever, he's the USA Today columnist, sports columnist. He wrote a column that I made fun of about how, if you think there's going to be less outrage next year between the number 13 team and the number 12 team, then you're a fool. And I'm like, if you think there's going to be as much outrage for a 9-3 team not getting in as there is an undefeated team, then you're the fool, but I don't really think you believe that. That's what I tweeted at him. And he's like, I've seen this for my whole career. It happens in the NCAA tournament all the time. As if, yes, the Missouri State that wins the Missouri Valley Conference or whatever, but loses in the conference tournament and gets left out with a 20-6 record. You know what I mean? Like, yes, people feel worse for them. They feel as bad for them as they do the undefeated college football team. Are you high? Are you high? Like, it's not even a comparison. Or the NC States of the world. They have a 21 RPI, but lost 11 times, and they get left out of the NCAA basketball tournament. That's the same thing, you think? Like, people that do this for a living that are too, like, I don't know, too involved or too close to it, they can't take a step back and see how preposterous it is. They have all been slapped into reality a little bit about, yeah, this is kind of weird. That doesn't make sense. Why did Cincinnati get to go a couple years ago? They weren't better than 5 teams that should have gotten in. So yeah. So anyway. So either way, we got 9 months to cool down. Don't think it'll happen. I think as soon as you see these people on that set to start next football season, it's going to make you mad again. And one of the biggest storylines, the only storyline for them in Ireland, it ain't about following Haynes King in what Brett Key is doing at Georgia Tech. They're over there because of Florida State. And the whole storyline will be the offseason. And they'll even have a whole segment on the snub and how it fueled their offseason. Not understanding they're the people that helped with the snub. So, yeah, it's going to be a very awkward game day, I'm thinking.
Herbie tweeted out dog content on Saturday. There's 882 replies. The first one I see is beautiful dog, and FSU got screwed. Good day.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's like the thing I said with Swift and Kardashian. The Seminoles are out in full force, man, like the Swifties. I mean, it's never going away. Like, he's going to be getting tweets like that probably for the rest of his career. Yeah. Multiples every time he tweets. It's a beautiful dog, though, by the way.
Yeah. I wonder where has he been like the last 10 years. It looks like an old dog, and I've never seen him until this year.
Apparently he's I think he's a, what do we call him? Not a
emotional
service dog.
Support?
Yeah, because Ira pointed it out before the Duke game. I think they did the Duke game.
Yeah,
Herb
they
Street
did.
And Fowler.
Yeah,
that he saw him down on the field. Oh, no. It was at the Florida game. He saw him down on the field talking to Napier with the dog.
Yeah, he was talking to Jordan Travis at midfield with the dog.
Yeah, and I was like, and Ira's like, what's the dog about? And I had no idea. I didn't know that Kirk had one of those. So, good luck to him. It's a beautiful dog. But, yeah, that's you open yourself up for criticism when you don't even entertain the thought. If he would have just said one time, look, guys, I know this is crazy. It's a crazy sport we live. Florida State has earned it. They're undefeated. I know Alabama needed a miracle to beat Auburn, but this might be how the committee votes. I don't agree with it. I think Florida State earned it, but this might be what the committee's looking at. But no, it was basically it never felt like it had that tenor or tone. It was always, this is what the committee should do. I think Alabama belongs. I think the SEC champion has a very rightful claim, blah, 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 blah. And so it just, it's the tail wagging the dog. No pun intended, Kirk.
He tweeted something before Army, Navy, and then, even some of the FSU Twitter got into those replies, too. So nothing can shield you, even not patriotism, not dogs, Kirk. So
and the thing with Kirk, because I noticed this past summer, which was crazy, he picked a fight with a Cincinnati Reds reporter that I went to school with and went to Georgia with, C. Trent Rosecrans. The Reds were playing well, and they had that super-duper star that came up midway through the season, the rookie.
Oh, Ellie De La Cruz,
maybe?
Yeah,
is that
there
his
it
name?
is. There it is, yeah.
So he was playing really well at AAA. The Reds were playing well. And C. Trent went around the clubhouse saying, hey, when they call up Ellie, what do you think that does for the team? Where do you think he'll bat? What does that do for the chemistry? But how excited are you for when they call him up? Because people had been waiting on him for months, just like Braves fans were with Acuna. It's just how baseball works. You got to wait until some deadline so you get more control of them. So they knew it was going to happen. And then Kurt just went after this guy and saying, you're just chasing clicks, trying to cause a rift in the locker room, in the clubhouse. Why can't you just appreciate what the Reds team has? As if this guy wasn't doing his job writing about the arrival of the biggest star the Reds have had in 20 years. And Kurt took exception to it as if he was some jilted, weird fan, saying he was just chasing clicks, having no idea. He wrote a blog from his mom's basement. Like all this craziness. C. Trent Rosecrans wrote at the Cincinnati Enquirer for 15 years and now works for The Athletic. And Kirk was equating him to some guy with a blog in his basement who was just chasing clicks. And the point of all that was Kirk kind of lost his mind and came unhinged during that Reds thing. Yeah. There will be a moment in the next 8 months. There might be a moment on December 30th, depending how the Orange Bowl goes, where Kirk is going to tweet or say something that he will probably be regretting in August. Not that he's in danger, but he is going to – I just feel he's going to be a guy that's going to not be able to – I think he's going to say or tweet something that is going to be poking at Florida State fans in a way that he should not do. He needs to just take the L, realize why Florida State fans feel they got screwed, because Florida State did get screwed, and just appreciate that, and he'll never say it out loud, but just for the rest of his life, in the back of his head, his inner monologue needs to be, I'm sorry, I agree, I'm sorry, not, this is what you get, oh, I thought you guys could win the national championship, you can't even beat Georgia. Whatever he's going to tweet, there's going to be something he's going to regret.
See, that's the thing, there's no way they could not have realized what was coming their way. I mean, 2013, 2014 wasn't that long ago, and they realized just how pissed off this fan base was at ESPN. So for them to
but it wasn't. But I think the difference is it's not just the Florida State fan base. But they thought they were just going to anger the FSU fans.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
talking
FSU
about the
fans
reaction of the world.
Yeah,
the world's reaction.
They've all moved on though. Like Florida, and I'm not telling you to move on, everybody, but the random UCLA fan and the random Iowa fan and the Penn State fan, but they're just you guys screwed that up. They're not the ones that are like, you're a clown. I can't wait to see you. I'm gonna hurt you if I see you. But I think what I do agree with you on about the miscalculation. I just think they thought that at some point, relatively quickly, Florida State fans would have kind of been like, you know what, probably not winning without Jordan Travis. We get it. He's that awesome. But that's not going to factor in anybody's head. And he should have known that as an Ohio State fan, because no Ohio State fans were really, mailing it in when JT Barrett went down either. So.
Well, and again, like I pointed out last week, Alabama won a national title with Greg McElroy throwing for 55 yards. Greg McElroy totaling 29 yards of offense in a national championship.
Did he really?
Game.
Was it that paltry?
Yeah, it was 56 passing yards and minus 27 rushing yards.
That's incredible.
29 yards from their starting quarterback, and they were allowed to not only play in the game, but they won it. Because football, you can win with not great quarterback play. You just can. You just can. So, whatever. Hey, I'm over it, gang. We probably won't ever talk about this again. Hey, how about you want to talk about basketball?
No. You want to talk about the Heisman at all? What do you think about the 97 doc?
I didn't watch it.
Okay. It's not that great. A little bit disappointed in it. Just wasn't a lot of...
Here's two things, and I think I admitted this last week. So I voted Jaden Daniels to win it. I did not vote Jordan Travis in the top three. It is my biggest regret as a Heisman voter. I've been doing it for 10 or 11 years now. I just thought, okay, he's not going to win it. I would have probably voted Nix number one if he would have won his game, but he didn't. And then I didn't think Penix had so many kind of games that I'm like, okay, if it's down to these three guys, it's got to be Daniels. None of them were in the, Penix. I just didn't think Penix played well enough through the course of the season. He was not a better player than Jaden Daniels. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it to Jaden. He's going to win it anyway. And then I think I put Penix second and maybe Harrison third. I can't even remember.
Ooh.
But obviously, I did that Saturday night. And the reason I did it Saturday night, folks, is the deadline. I thought the deadline was Saturday night. It turned out I don't think the deadline was till Monday at noon or Sunday. It wasn't Saturday night. Trust me. If I had waited until 12:30 p.m. on Sunday after the championship games, Jordan Travis would have had another number one first place vote. Now, I still don't think that gets him anywhere close to New York because the spread was too much. But he wasn't going to. So when I saw how it broke down, I'm like, and I saw that he was fifth. I'm like, oh man, if I'd have voted him one, would that have gotten him to New York? And it would not have. So I felt better about that. But I should have waited. The games were all played. Jaden didn't have another game. Travis wasn't playing again. Harrison wasn't playing. I was like, man, I'm just going to vote now.
Yeah.
And then it worked out like that, and I feel bad. I feel dumb. I should have voted Jordan Travis number one. So next year, this is my pledge to you. No matter who the quarterback is for Florida State, they're getting a first place Heisman vote.
There we go.
In protest of what I should have done maybe I could vote for Jordan Travis again. Can I write him in?
Yeah, you could.
I bet I could. They'd have to take it. I'm a voter. Somebody voted J.J. McCarthy number one.
Yeah, I saw that. America's quarterback. So I did see, actually, ESPN.com wrote a story last year because I guess Hendon Hooker might have been a finalist or not been a finalist, just about how angry everybody was in Tennessee for Peyton not winning the Heisman. And,
right.
That was a year, 97, where Nebraska beat Tennessee in the Orange Bowl, Michigan beat Washington State in the Rose Bowl, and they split the national title.
Right.
And the coaches' poll was so close. Michigan was at a certain point or a certain part of the polling for the coaches, and then they, Michigan fans did the math, and it came down to one coach having moved them off the line at where they had been the previous 4 or 5 weeks. And all signs point to Fulmer, and Fulmer denies it. But basically, Phil Fulmer was so pissed off that Peyton Manning didn't win the Heisman that he voted Michigan down in his coach's poll ballot in the last one, which effectively gave Nebraska a share of the national title.
Oh, I see. Hey, well, good for him.
So, like, again, just back to this whole thing where, like, there's been so many bad takes. There's been a lot of great takes. There's been a lot of bad takes, too, with Florida State's situation. And, like, oh, college football it's figure skating. Like, man, it was figure skating all the way up until, like, until 1998. You know, when
even
the
then it was.
Yeah. So
even then it's become that. Look, until this past year, I think they've gotten it right most years. They've gotten the 4 teams right. They're not in the right order, maybe, but they've gotten the 4 teams right. And I think legitimately, typically, you have a deserving national champion. You guys got to know. I know we got younger listeners. Go look at the 1984 BYU team and who they beat. They played Michigan in the Holiday Bowl. 1984 BYU. Won the national championship. They got to play a 7-4 or 6-5 Michigan team in the Holiday Bowl. And they won that game, not by a lot, and then won the national championship. They had to, you know what I'm saying? Like, because the bowls back then, they set them up in the middle of November or the early November. They would accept bowl bids. Like Florida State was accepting bowl bids before the final 2 games of the season. Well, if the team they're playing loses their next 2 games, well, all of a sudden it's not as good a game anymore. Like, it was ridiculous what the bowl system was and how teams won national championships back then. Absolutely absurd. And to that point, that 1997 team you're talking about, or the season you're talking about, so Florida State and Tennessee both had the same record. They both were 11-1. Florida State and Florida State, they both lost to the same team in the same place. Florida State lost at the Swamp 32-29. Tennessee lost in the Swamp in September and gave up 62 points. Yet, because Tennessee lost earlier in the season, they leapfrogged Florida State after the game in the Swamp for Florida State. And so they got to go play Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. And Florida State had to go to the Sugar Bowl to play Ohio State in a game that didn't matter. Now, look, if Florida State goes to the Orange Bowl and beats Nebraska, and Michigan somehow had lost to Washington State, well, Florida State would have won the national championship. But that was taken away because of stupid voters back then. Just the way the sport was. If you lost early, it was fine. But if you lost late, your season was over. So all that, like, they made they made a lot of strides when it comes to the postseason. And next year will be so much better. Not great, clearly, because there'll be 10 SEC and Big Ten teams in there. But it used to just be ridiculous. Absolutely a farce of who got in, who played. Georgia Tech won the national title in 1990. They got to play an average Nebraska team in the Citrus Bowl. Colorado tied them in 1990 and beat a really good Notre Dame team in the Orange Bowl. Why weren't Georgia Tech and Colorado playing in the Orange Bowl? Then they could have had one national. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they just did dumb stuff.
Oh, bowl tie-ins and all that stuff.
But not that one. Georgia Tech could have gone to the Orange Bowl instead of Notre Dame. Like, Colorado was the bowl tie-in because it was the Big 8. Whoever won the Big 8 went to the Orange Bowl. And the other one was an independent, was an at-large. Well, that could have been Georgia Tech. But why do that? Why don't you have them play in 2 separate bowls? Washington, Miami tied in 91. They had a split then, too. Like, it is all goofy. You had 3 split national championships in 8 years. And, hey, if Florida State beats Georgia this year in the Orange Bowl, maybe the AP voters vote them number 1. You get to hang up another banner.
You know where BYU was ranked in the preseason in '84?
No idea. 11th?
They were not ranked at all in either poll. They beat number 3 Pitt in week 1 and then did not play a single ranked team the rest of the year, including their bowl game.
And I'm going to guess 1984 Pitt, without Dan Marino, didn't end up being that good a football team. So
yeah,
that was
1984 Pitt started the year number 3 in the country. They finished the season 3-7-1.
Come on, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So again, just understand how
This is the sport
preposterous
that
the
we
system
love.
used to be.
Yes, this is the sport that we love.
They went. That was their
big.
big win. Was over the 3-7-1 Panthers. Holy cow! They were started off number 3 in the country. That's what Pitt was back then. Pitt was awesome, and they just thought they were going to ride that dynasty forever.
Yeah, in the story that ESPN did, Fulmer said that he thought there was impropriety going on because at that point the SEC was not on ABC. Like ABC and ESPN had the Big Ten, right. And there was even an excerpt from a story they showed during the Heisman documentary that I think it was either 26 or 36 times as much viewership the game got with Ohio State and Michigan, where Woodson had his punt return and I think he picked off a pass, versus Peyton Manning, who was on ESPN2, which was like the deuce back then. It was like really second billing beyond ESPN2, and he was lighting up Vanderbilt for like 5 or 6 touchdowns. But at that point, like nobody was watching ESPN2. Everybody still had ABC in 1997. And Fulmer thinks that, part of the reason that, Michigan got it was because Michigan was more friendly with ESPN than the SEC and Tennessee.
Those were the days, right?
Yeah, it used to be a thing, everybody.
I've said this before. I've written it. I've tweeted it. And I'll say it again. Florida State in the 1990s had as many top 5 finishes. Just the school, Florida State, the program Florida State, had as many top 5 finishes as the entire SEC combined. Do the math, figure it out, think about it. Florida State, 5 top 10 finishes in the 90s. The entire SEC conference had 10 top 5 finishes. The entire SEC conference had 10 top 5 finishes in the 90s. Florida State did it by itself. So, yes, the SEC was it really started with Saban, quite honestly, and that LSU team back then. And look, they've been the best conference, but there was a time when that was not the case, and there was certainly a time when the perception wasn't that they were so good that whoever loses their conference championship game should still get to go to the national championship. Yeah. But, those days are over. By the way,
one of my buddies wants us to do a story on that. Like, when did everything change? He thinks that it was Auburn in 2004, but I'm like, no, there wasn't an uproar for them being left out. Like, because they were undefeated in 2004, Auburn, with Cadillac and Ronnie Brown.
And so the thing there is, like, what?
It was Saban. It's all Saban.
But also with that one in particular, because I saw people pointing that out, that Auburn got screwed in 2004. But, look, they got left out for 2 other undefeated teams. Now, Oklahoma got boat raced in that game. I can't imagine Auburn would have played them worse than Oklahoma did, that USC team. But it was USC, Oklahoma, and Auburn. All 3 were undefeated. There's 2 spots in the title game. Somebody has to get left out. Meanwhile, this year, there were 4 spots available and 3 undefeated teams, and instead 2 one-loss teams got ahead of that undefeated team. So that's the difference. Auburn didn't get left behind so a one-loss USC team could play Oklahoma. They were all undefeated. It sucked. It was bad timing for them, and they weren't going to beat USC anyway.
And SC had to share the title, and Oklahoma played in the title game the year before, so those were like 2, it was kind of like a rematch almost, if you will, a quasi one.
So was that 1997? That might be the best collection of finalists that made it to New York ever, right? Because it was Woodson, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, and Randy Moss.
Yeah.
So Ryan Leaf obviously kind of is the one that stands out. The other 3 are not only just Hall of Famers, but like Mount Rushmores at their positions.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So the whole documentary was all archival footage. There was nothing new, recent. It was all archival footage from that time. And
really?
They played a soundbite from Bobby talking about, like Lou Holtz, they couldn't keep him in Notre Dame because he got in trouble. So he called me and said, take a chance on him or whatever. So we brought him down. And then it shows, Randy saying, Your Honor, we don't even have to keep going. I'm guilty. I smoked marijuana. And it's, Randy. Randy, what could have been?
Yeah, man. Yep. That was a bummer. That was a bummer. We're still upset. There are people like me that are still upset about that decision. Now, what are we, 28 years, 25 years removed? So believe me, we're all going to still be upset about the committee for the rest of our lives. It's going to bother us. Not to the point where you can't sleep at night, but you're always just going to be like, that was crazy. I can't believe that just happened. For the rest of our lives, we're going to be saying that.
At least we could maybe use it to squelch like a free beer out of somebody at a bar, If you got a Florida State shirt on, it's like, hey, we should be in the national championship right now. And somebody, with a good head on their shoulder should be like, you know what? You're kind of right. Let me get this beer for you. So
here's what's even more maddening. I can't remember if I brought this up. I don't think so. I think we went out to dinner on that Thursday night. I went out to dinner with some.
Can you hold on to this while I do a read?
Sure, buddy. Go for it.
Hold on to it. That's a good tease.
Okay,
Corey's
nice.
got a good gem for us.
Yeah.
But it's not a winner, which would be great to use over at mybookie.ag, where you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use the promo code WARCHANT for an instant cash deposit bonus of up to 110%. That's crazy. Very generous of them. Live betting, live casino, sportsbook, futures, it's all there. It's still a 14-point spread between Georgia and Florida State. The total is 45. So they haven't heard of anybody entering the portal or leaving or opting out, so that's probably a good sign. Shock the world, Knowles. Shock the world. Plus 450 straight up if you want to go with the Knowles and just say screw the world. So that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Pick what you want. A lot of bowl games, obviously. It's all there for you over at mybookie.ag, where you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Just use the promo code WARCHANT when you do go to mybookie.ag. Corey Clark, let it rip.
So went to dinner with some friends, some new friends up in my neck of the woods in Beaufort, Georgia last week. And the wife, cheered at Florida State. So big-time Florida State fan, listens to us.
You have two sets of friends that have a wife that cheered at Florida State. Look at you.
Isn't that crazy? And they didn't cheer together. When I've gotten into shape, Aslan, so I feel like I'm a part of the cheer community now.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could be a base or a bottom. Well, I'm not going to say that.
Whoa.
Strike what I just said, that last word.
Spotter.
But whatever they call those people at the bottom of the pyramid, I don't think it's bottom. But either way.
Power bottom.
So he was a cheerleader too, but he was a cheerleader at Alabama. And he's a big Alabama fan. She's obviously a big Florida State fan. But he also cheers for Florida State, obviously, married into it. But even he, as a diehard Alabama fan, was like, yes, I felt awful for y'all. And it's like, that's what, again, I just keep coming back. That's what's so maddening, is just like those Patriots fans were cool if they had lost to the Falcons. They still had the 5 rings. They still would have slept pretty well that night. And instead, they got to celebrate this ridiculous all-time comeback. It's the same thing with this. Like Alabama fans were watching that show going, man, it'd be cool, but we don't deserve, we lost that game. We almost lost to Auburn. It's cool we won the SEC, but oh, God, we're in. We get to go play for a national championship again. Like, it's just like they didn't even really expect it. Most of them probably know they didn't earn it. They didn't deserve it. And they might go win the darn thing, which is great. Good for them. But it's like just any other school, literally almost any other school. I'm to the point where even if it was Notre Dame, I would have been okay with it. Not okay with it. Sorry. I would be more okay with it.
More accepting of it, yeah.
Yes, more accepting. The last layer, the worst layer, is that you had an all-time screw job, in my opinion, for a team that's there every year to get them in. Like, great, awesome. You let the Lakers in again, or you let the Yankees get to the postseason. Awesome. Thank you for that. So anyway,
that's like the only time I think my body temperature elevated was I did see a tweet from like a random Alabama fan in a chain reply on Twitter, and it was an Alabama fan that was like, get over it. You guys suck. And I was like, God, you people are the worst. Like, just sit this one out. One out.
Just say Leroy. We're sorry. That's a bummer. But yeah, exactly. And again, but I think. Well, I shouldn't say this. I don't know enough Alabama fans. They might be more like that person than the person I went to dinner with. Yeah. But I feel like most of them. Let me put it this way: they would not have been heartbroken if they hadn't gotten in. Those kids wouldn't have been heartbroken. Nick Saban wouldn't have put his head in his hands like Norvell did, and half the team wouldn't have stood up and thrown their hats. The Alabama kids I'm talking about, if that had happened. They weren't heartbroken. Kirk Herbstreit wouldn't have had to look into his phone and say, oh, it breaks your heart. I feel so bad for those kids. I feel, Reese Davis too, I feel so bad. They wouldn't have done that if Alabama had been left out. Because all those kids on that roster probably will play in one next year. They'll be in the playoff next year. They were in the playoff 2 years ago. They won the national championship. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's feeling sorry for Alabama players. But whatever. Florida State's not going anywhere, Aslan.
Yeah. I want to add something there, but I forgot it. So how about we talk about hoops real quick, Corey?
Women's or men's? The women didn't do great either on Sunday. They got to figure out. They got to start guarding. They're very talented offensively, but they gave up almost 100 to UCLA, who's number 2 in the country. Now, no shame in losing to them. But it's the second time this year, I think, or maybe close to the third, where they've given up close to 100 points. So got to get that in line. They're a Sweet 16 caliber team. I think that's probably their ceiling. The men, look, we'll see how the rest of this month goes, and obviously the rest of this season. But that was the worst loss of the year by far on Saturday, and it was such a bad loss that you really start looking ahead to like, okay, what's the exit strategy here? That's how bad that loss was. Like, you could get over – well, you couldn't get over it. You blew a 17-point lead to Georgia in 6 minutes at home, which is indefensible. But you'd won some nice games. You beat Colorado, who beat the brakes off Miami on Sunday.
Won a championship. You beat Colorado to win a championship.
Yeah, that's right. You won a tournament championship. Colorado's a good team. They're ranked, or they're going to be ranked again after beating Miami by 28 points. That's a really good win. And then you follow that up by losing a 17-point lead to Georgia. losing a second half, like a 12 or 13 second half lead, giving up a 22-0 run at North Carolina. But North Carolina's better than you, and it's on the road. So you played well for 32 minutes of that game. It was good to see. And then you go out and lay just an absolute egg at the Orange Bowl Classic on Saturday in Sunrise. In South Florida, a team that got beat at home by Maine and Central Michigan. Central Michigan, who Florida State beat by 30, they beat South Florida badly at South Florida. You should have wiped the floor with that South Florida team, and instead you trailed the whole game. Literally from the start, you're down 8-0, and then in the second half, you're down by 26. And that was not a good sign, clearly. But it's not just like, okay, we know this isn't the most talented team in the country. It's not loaded with NBA players. But I thought after what I saw in Chapel Hill, they were tougher than what we had seen the last couple of years. Like the way they came back from that awful loss to Georgia to play like that in Chapel Hill for 32 minutes, and then just kind of got overwhelmed with the run. But they showed some toughness, I thought, to play that hard and that well, to have a lead in the second half. And then you come out after a week later after that, and then you just completely get embarrassed. Not a great sign. You hope they're tougher, and this is just a bad stretch, and they figure it out. I mean, basketball teams get better all the time. It's early. They still got plenty of chances to get themselves back in contention for, I don't know, a postseason bid of some sort. But that was an awful, awful loss, and it was so bad again that I think you wonder, okay, is this going to be another one of these seasons? And if it is, can you afford another one of these seasons? So that was how bad that loss was.
You said to get the tournament train out the depot like a week and a half ago, Corey. I'm hurt.
I know. Me too, buddy. Me too. It was what a weird schedule. So they played North Carolina last Saturday. They played South Florida this past Saturday, and then they don't play again until this Saturday coming up.
That's the holidays. It's always like that. I feel
but
like,
it's
right?
You usually have some sort. I mean, you're basically playing, I think, 4 games in the span of 22 days or 23 days or something. It's a really bizarre stretch. So hey, a little rust.
Yeah.
Gonna blame it on some rust. But yeah, that was just a gross performance on every end. Baba, work on your free throws, buddy. But
we
yeah,
still don't have Primo Spears, right? Or is Primo Spears?
They do
playing
not.
right?
No, he
Okay.
is not. He has not been cleared. That can and will help if and when it happens. But it's Florida State, so why are we assuming it will? It's just that's the way this thing works. He hopefully is going to be eligible. I think they think he's going to get eligible, and he was their biggest transfer coming in. He averaged like 16 or 15 a game at Georgetown last year, so he's a very good player. And they need somebody that can handle the ball and score. Because Jalen Worley isn't that guy. He's never going to be a scorer. He's never going to be an offensive threat of really any sorts. And it was just you could understand blowing it late to Georgia. You could understand the loss to North Carolina. But now they've been blown out at Florida. Absolutely run off the floor at Florida, I should say. They got run off the floor by South Florida. And then they blew 2 huge second-half leads against Georgia and North Carolina. Those are their 4 losses. So, again, it seems to be tilting more towards not the toughest team you want. And that's what Leonard Hamilton teams should always be, are tough. Really tough. Tough-minded, tough physically, and it just doesn't seem to be the case again this year. But we're only 8 games in, small sample size, not giving up on that team. Saturday was tough to watch, or in my case, listen to, but not giving up on the team, certainly not giving up on that man and that coaching staff, but that was gross, and I hope they figure it out.
So much recruiting content and coverage over at warchant.com's premium recruiting board. Corey, Matt Lasser's got a great chart letting you know what position, whether it's mutual interest, if FSU has interest. 6 edge rushers they have interest in, 5 with mutual, 2 that were on campus this past weekend. Kyle Kennard from Georgia Tech and Samuel Okunlola from Pitt. Our guy from Pitt, a little bit better on the PFF stuff. Maybe not as 266 snaps and 12 pressures versus Kennard, who had 534 snaps and 21 pressures. So
that counts out about the same. That math's about the same. The Kennard kid is an old dude, though. I think this might be his 5th year. This would be his 5th year coming up, 5th or 6th, because he had a COVID year too. He's been in college for a long time, and he's produced. But I think when you look at him, and again, I'm projecting. I have no idea if he's coming. I don't even know. I assume kids are going to portal to Florida State again. Those announcements will be coming soon. But he's a guy that you kind of looks to me like, he's more of a steady. You know what you're going to get. I think better than Gilbert Edmond, but that kind of player. The kid from Pitt, I think they think might have a chance because he was just a freshman this past year, right?
Right.
I think they're projecting him to maybe be that next dude. Like he could take a sizable leap.
Yeah.
You kind of know what you're getting with the Georgia Tech kid, which is a solid, steady Division I defensive end, which you need. But the star power might be from the kid from Pitt or somebody else in the portal.
Yeah. So there is mutual interest and a visit expected with an offensive lineman from a Power 5 program.
Okay.
Also, a defensive lineman in-state has been offered with mutual interest. So stuff's happening, and we'll let you know when it does happen over at warchant.com. We'll have videos, reaction as soon as these things do happen, if they were to occur.
And we had the Sunday Smash was basically Michael Langston and Tom Lang talking about all that. So if you're interested in that and you're mad that we're still talking about Herb Street and the 97 Heisman and you want your recruiting fix, there's a whole hour-long show that's either on the Seminole Headlines YouTube, Seminole Headlines podcast channel that you can click on. You better be a subscriber to that already. And then also it's on our YouTube channel as well that you can go watch.
Do you say that to people on Headlines to subscribe to Wake Up War channel? You better subscribe to that one. I feel like you don't do it with that sort of.
I don't. I shouldn't. I mean, I should.
Whoa,
you're right. But I didn't. I
jerk.
misspoke. I absolutely should. I do talk about Wake Up War
it's
Channel a
fine.
lot, though.
It's fine.
So
I'm giving you a
I
hard
dropped that nugget in there. So people are like, I love this headlines. What's this Wake Up War Channel he keeps talking about? And then they go and find it, and here we are.
Yeah. So, again, as these official visits wrap up for both Kennard and Okunlola, we'll have Michael on probably later on this week on the show, do a 10, 15-minute segment, keep us updated. So we will have you totally covered on this, even on this podcast. But as Corey said, they did an hour-long show last night. So I was given carte blanche to use it as I wish, but I was like, I don't feel great. I don't know if I feel like scrubbing through an hour-long show and picking out the important parts. So I just went to Matt Lasser's chart, which is there, and it looks great. Looks even better when you have a subscription. You can actually read it instead of having me read it to you through my nasally, terrible voice.
No, man, you sound great.
Thanks, man.
Well, you don't sound great. That's not true. But you're doing well. You don't sound awful.
Passable. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do shows this week. Not sure how many, but be subscribed, and it'll hit you as soon as we get one. So maybe
Let me ask you this,
former
Aslan.
players or something. Keep it going, you know.
But what if like a couple of kids enter the portal, or a couple of kids opt out, say they're going to the draft, which we think I would assume that happens this week, guys. I mean I don't know what some of these players will be waiting on if they are leaving, or some might announce they're coming back. But we could also sometimes we could do a show that's just 24 minutes. You know
no
what I
one
mean?
likes that. They like the hour 20-minute show, man.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I'm with you. I'm
you
with
know
you.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because I've run into a lot of people. I was at a family reunion on Saturday. All they talked about was all they wanted to talk about was the snub. Going out about in town, meeting with friends, either in Georgia or down here in Tallahassee. Obviously, a lot about the snub. I just don't know if people are going to want to keep. I'm going to be talking about it forever if y'all want me to. I'm never going to be over it completely. But if we could. I'll try to dial it down a
Transition?
little.
Yeah,
I'll try
no,
to dial
we
it
did
down
good.
a little.
We did good. It was only maybe about like 15 minutes of angst.
You're right.
We're doing good. We're tapering off. It's natural. So.
But we're still mad. We're still mad.
Yeah.
Oh,
obviously.
hey, real quick before we go, I think I'm going to write a column on like the 13 biggest plays
Ooh, all
of
right.
the 13 season, 23 season. Sorry, that would be funny if I went back to 2013 and just wrote about those plays. The Kermit Whitfield's kick return, number 3. So what would you say? Give me one. So I don't want to give away what I think is the number one, but I think DeLoach's play in Clemson is certainly up there.
Yeah.
What's another one that absolutely has to be up there? Just a content item we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That maybe I haven't even thought of.
Well, no, because my memory's terrible, so I'm gonna have to go to the most recent game. So I would say like Toafili's, 73-yard run
Yeah.
has to make it. Let me see here. Maybe the 4th down stop against Duke.
Yeah, that's a good one. What about Deuce's kick return?
Oh yeah, that's the play.
And here,
for Duke
okay,
game,
here's
yeah.
because I gotta include something from the LSU game, maybe 2. What's the one from the LSU game that absolutely has to be in there?
One of Keon's, I don't know, either one of Keon's touchdowns where he just walked over the guy, or when Jaheim just snatched that guy's soul.
Yeah, but they were going to win that game
At
when
that
Jaheim
point,
did that.
yeah.
But I get what you're saying, or the long touchdown pass to Jaheim where he was wide open.
4th down stop on the first drive.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's because there's a lot to choose from. And it got me thinking. That's why I brought this up, because I was thinking about all these plays, like the top 13 plays of the season, and in 2013 they were all blowouts. So there weren't, obviously there were big plays, but it's like, okay, what was the biggest play of the Pitt game in 13? What was the biggest play of even the Miami game? Yeah. But with this team, I keep coming back to Tatum Bethune ripping the ball out of what would have been a touchdown pass in Charlotte. Knocking the ball loose, because I don't think they win that game if that touchdown counts.
Because that was after Mastromano's failed punt.
Correct,
right?
after the blocked punt. So they would have been down then at that point. I think, right? It was 10-6, right? I think that would have put Louisville ahead, or 10-3. Maybe it would have tied it. I can't remember the score. But anyway, I think Louisville was about to take the lead. I think that's what happened. Yeah, that's right. It was 10-6. So that Louisville would have taken the lead. Instead, Bethune, who's on one knee, rips the ball out, and then on the very next play intercepts the pass. Where does that rank? You know what I mean? And the point being, there were so many really fun, awesome special plays this season. And I'm not going to sit here and say they were meaningless.
Oh, no, absolutely
because
not.
The committee said they were meaningless. But Tatum might as well have not played in the second half of that game, because whatever he did in that game wasn't going to matter in their eyes. But it matters. It all matters. 13-0 matters, and it will always matter. And so when you start thinking about those plays, like Fisk in that game, or Jarian Jones against Miami, or name a play against Florida. Those plays, man, the Benson runs, those are huge plays when they absolutely need them. I mean, it was just, again, I keep coming back to how many good players made huge, big-time plays when it mattered. And it was really a really fun season to cover. I just wish I wasn't so angry still.
It's got to get better, I think. That's what my mom says, so I'll trust her. All right, that's a wrap for us. We're done. More shows coming your way this week. TBD. But as Corey said, if need be, we'll do a 20-minute show, right? That's better than nothing. So stay connected to warchant.com in the interim, plus the Jeff Cameron Show and Seminole Headlines. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.